Hello and welcome in to the Retirement Playbook brought to you by Alspaugh Wealth Management. Hello, folks. I'm Brock Alspaugh, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Tony Shore.
Woo!
Hello, Tony.
And the crowd goes, yeah. What? No, please, no. I'm only a man. Please.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good.
You look fantastic, by the way.
Yeah. I'm just kicking back. Just relaxing.
I know you've been super busy, by the way.
I actually have been busy. Our partner in crime, our editor and producer, Mitch, was out all last week. Whew. And thank God he's back. And then, trying to take care of my parents who are elderly. And I'm part of that sandwich generation. I've got adult kids pulling at my wallet. I've got my parents who are in care, need full-time care. So, they call us the sandwich generation. And at least, I'm like, if I'm a sandwich, I want it to be something good, like
peanut butter and jelly.
Cuban. Yeah, I like it.
I
like
am such a
Cuban
kid.
sandwich.
I still love peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
I honestly had peanut butter and jelly last night. Wife's out of town, so I made myself a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
So we go out to the golf club, right? And we're playing golf. And Gavin, he used always, when he was a kid, he'd go out, he'd grab him a little peanut butter and jelly sandwich out of the honor cooler where you write down your number and they charge your account. But anyway, you take it out of the fridge. And now I do it. He doesn't play golf with me anymore, so I go by and I grab the peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
For the ones they have for the kids, you mean? When you bring your kids golfing, Brock's in there. Some poor guy's bringing his boys and, hey, guys, get a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And you're there with four of them, and they're like, well, there's none left. And Brock's,
hey, I wouldn't do that, Tony.
I know. You would.
All right, well, listen, folks, we have got a great show lined up for you today. But before we get into it, I want you to do something very simple, very easy to do in today's world. First of all, I want you to go to YouTube. So if you're listening to us or watching us on YouTube, thank you very much. Mm-hmm. Please subscribe to our channel, right? Like our stuff. Subscribe, though, is a big one. We're going to start pushing for more people to get onto YouTube and subscribe to our channel. All you have to do is search Alspaugh Wealth Management. You'll see me and Tony up there. We've got plenty of short videos and those kinds of things on our channel. Check it out. You can also check out past shows. But the second thing I want you to do is go to our website. There's a lot of great information to help you. So we talk about all these different topics. There's a lot more to it, and it's all on our website. It's alspaughwealthmanagement.com. You can even, right at the very top, request a consultation with myself, and we'll talk about your situation. If there's anything we can do to help, great. If there's everything you're doing is correct, great. We'll tell you that, okay? Or you can just give us a good old-fashioned phone call at 573-332-7855. But again, that web address is alspaughwealthmanagement.com. Check out past shows. Order my book. It's The Last Paycheck, How to Build Sustainable Retirement Income and Keep Those Paychecks Coming In. That's the goal. That's what we want to do. So anyway, Tony, I'm excited about today's topic because it is something that a lot of people truly, I don't think, understand some of the rules that are associated with 401k rollovers. Yes, folks, that's what we're going to talk about today. If you've had an old job, right, and you left behind that 401k, that might be an option. We're going to talk about some other options too today and talk about the advantages of each one of those things. But I will tell you that most of the time, leaving something behind is probably not a good idea. Right. In today's world, we have so many things that are pulling our attention. You can't even remember what we ate for lunch yesterday, let alone a 401k account that we had 5 years ago. So take control of your money. Do something about it. Talk to a financial services professional. You're going to hear that. That is going to be the bottom line common denominator of everything that we talk about today on the show, which is get help. Talk to somebody, get a plan, not just worry about an account that you had at another job, but what does that actually mean to your retirement and to your future and to your family? So we're going to talk about this. Tony, I don't know where you worked before Gradient, but I'm assuming you worked somewhere else. Did you have a 401k there?
Yes, I did. In fact, I actually worked for a company for 5 years. Okay. They got bought out by a bigger company, and we got absorbed. And I stayed at that company for 5 years, and then I came here. And when I came here, I looked at my 401k that I had at this old company, and I'm like,
Mhm.
wow, I thought that should be a lot more in there, right?
Right?
So I'm going to transfer that over. Should I transfer it to my new 401k? Should I put it in an IRA? Should I bite the bullet, pay a little tax now, and put it in a Roth? I know I had these options because of wisdom from the great Brock Alspaugh. But what I didn't realize is that old company that got absorbed, I didn't do anything with that 401k. I'd forgotten about it. And then
Mhm.
I was looking through paperwork, and I'm like, there should be more here. What happened?
I
And
mean,
then I
think about all
realized,
the things that could change with your personal life. Let's not even
yeah,
talk about the financial aspect of it. Like,
yeah.
let's say you're a
But I lost
female and
that
you
401k for a while,
oh, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah. So
but I
there you
found
go.
it.
You found it, right. But what happens if you move and you don't
Right.
notify that other company that you
That's
had it
what
with?
happened to me actually too.
What about if you're a female and your name changes?
Yeah.
What about if you get a divorce? There are so many things that can happen in your personal life that affect your financial life. And these are the examples of what we're talking about. Listen, you don't want to lose another a retirement account, and because then it's just potentially lost income in retirement and less money for your beneficiaries. That's no good, right?
Right.
So if you're going, I think this is where we're going with this, Tony. If you're going to keep that old 401k, let's say it's less than $5,000, okay? If it's less than $5,000, most companies will just let you either keep it in the plan or move it up to an IRA with that company. So, for example, if your 401k is with Fidelity and it's less than 5,000, a lot of times what they'll do is open up an IRA and roll that money out of the plan and put it into an IRA in your name with Fidelity. Okay. So now what has happened to that money? Who knows? How's it invested? Who's taking care of it? Is it going to do what it's supposed to do? Like what you said, Tony, you thought you would have had a lot more in there than you actually did. Well, why is that? Is it because the way it was invested? Is it because they didn't put the contributions in for you? I mean, there's all kinds of things that could happen that are negative. Okay. But sometimes if you have over 5,000, let's say you've got $7,000, they let you keep it in the plan. And it one of those decisions that you go, well, let's just keep it there, but I'm going to keep a track of it, make sure that it's performing the way it should, make sure it's investing the way it should be. These are all the things that I can understand it, right? Because there's not a lot of advisors that are going to open up an IRA for you for $7,000. Okay. It's
Right.
not worth their time to do it.
Right.
So there are instances, Tony, where that makes complete sense. Okay. Um, or if you've got an IRA already, let's take that same example of $7,000, put it over into an existing IRA that you maybe have already started. Okay. One of the things that you brought up, Tony, going into the show is that, okay, we're talking about rollovers, but what about converting that dollar amount over to a Roth IRA? Okay. So what does that entail? Well, that essentially means that you have to pay taxes on that amount of the rollover. So that goes into your taxable income for that year. Okay. So you have to pay taxes on it, but it goes into an account, a Roth IRA, and from there forward, it's going to be tax-free growth on that money.
Yeah, the principal and the growth will be tax-free when you do take it out. And so if you're a certain amount away from needing that money, you have to look at the time frame too, right? That's
Absolutely.
significant. And that's why you have to work with a financial professional
Mhm.
like yourself. And I know our listeners can call and ask you questions and meet with you, but you need to make sure that your time horizon is right. And if it is, it's probably worth it to pay lower taxes while we're still in this low tax bracket, right? Or low
100%.
tax
100%.
atmosphere. Taxes are at historical lows right now as
100%.
far as federal income tax rates.
People don't understand that, Tony. People don't understand that. If you look at our historical tax rates in our country, federal tax rates,
Yeah.
you'll see that what Tony is saying is absolutely true. And so take advantage of these low rates. Now, look, the one other thing I will say, though, yes, time horizon is very important, but also your current tax situation.
Yeah.
Like if you're already maxed out, you've got a really high tax rate, you may not want to do that, right?
Right.
But so it's not just about your time rights, it's about your current tax situation.
Sure. That's
too.
a good point. That's a really good point. You might want to spread it out, right?
Yeah,
then?
exactly.
Yeah.
So either spread it out or just don't do it at all and keep it in a regular IRA.
Mhm.
So the point is that if you look at the differences of keeping the money in a plan, going back to your options, when you leave a job, you can leave it in the plan unless it's less than 5,000. And a lot of times, Tony, if it's less than 1,000, they'll just write you a check. Like you don't
Right.
have an option. They're just going to give you the check and you're going to pay taxes on that money and you do whatever you want with it. Okay. Which if it's less than 1,000, I don't know. That's never a good idea to me, but because every little bit helps. So maybe roll it out to an IRA.
Yeah.
But still, the point is these are some expectations that you should have as to what will happen to your money when you leave the job. So let's say you've worked for a company for 10 years and you've got a nice balance. Say you got a couple $100,000 in your 401k. Now, what are we talking about as far as legitimate options? The first one's still an option. You can keep it inside that 401k, okay? But you've got to make sure you're staying on top of that and you are making the decisions at that point as to what happens to that money. But in that particular case, 100%, the first thing you need to do is get a plan. If you don't have a retirement income plan and you've left your job and you've got money in an old 401k, 100%, Tony, the first thing should be is to get a plan. Okay. And understand what that account means to you. Maybe it means a lot more or a lot less than what you thought as far as what that dollar amount will do for you in retirement, as far as an income stream is concerned. So if we're looking at the different options when you leave your job and you have a 401k, you leave it in there or you can roll it to an IRA. Okay. And in my professional opinion, a lot of times that makes sense. Now, it's not right for everybody. You got to understand the advantages and disadvantages. So that's what now we're going to discuss. Rolling it to an IRA and the advantages of doing so. And actually, I'm going to use my good old buddy, Ed Slott, America's IRA expert.
He is. Ed Slott is the foremost and premier expert on IRAs, Roth IRAs, 401k conversions. This is the guy, and the tax codes around them.
Okay, so the first advantage would be going to an IRA would be what, Tony? Having professional, customized plan as to how that money is
more control over where it's going, what it's doing, making it work for you, rather than the high risk, low risk, medium risk check boxes that they give you. I literally, this has been about 20 years ago, but I worked at a job where that's what they had. Like your options for your 401k, there were three choices: high risk, medium risk, and low risk. And you checked one of those boxes. It's like not too customized for my own personal needs.
Yeah, exactly. So that's definitely more investment options, right? I mean, a lot of times what you have in a 401k lineup is sufficient nowadays. It's gotten much better than what you're talking about.
Now I think there's even laws. I think they have to show you so many options.
Yeah. So we're going to have a lot of different investment options within that. If you're talking about your traditional type of investments where you have mutual funds and they're low, you have some bond funds, you have stock funds, you have international, you've got large cap, you've got small cap. And some of them have even gotten into some alternative funds like real estate funds and those kinds of things to add some diversity to your portfolio, which I always recommend that you have some in alternatives. But the point is that when you have an IRA, none of that's an issue. Like that's not an issue at all because you can go anywhere with that when it comes to, as long as you have enough to meet minimums for different strategies.
Sure.
But for the most part, it gives you a lot more flexibility and your advisor more flexibility as to how your money is invested. And more importantly, though, yes, investment options and flexibility is definitely important, but to have a strategy, an investment strategy that is customized for you. Okay. And there are other investments out there than just mutual funds, right? I mean, you've got all kinds of different things that you could look at to either reduce risk or just diversify away from just traditional stock and bonds. There's lots of things you can do. So yes, 100%, Tony. In my opinion, like that would be the reason to consider rolling to an IRA is the investment choices. Okay. So that's the first one. The other thing is when it comes to estate planning, think about that, right? Something happens to you. We've got a consolidated effort, or if you're working with an advisor and you have this IRA now, if something happens to you, your beneficiaries come to the advisor, right? If you don't have an advisor and you just have it in a plan, maybe from a previous job, and again, it's kind of not really thought of, and maybe nobody even knows about it, right?
Yeah,
So from an
that's the problem.
estate planning perspective, having it in an IRA and having it at a institution, a local institution like us, we can help the beneficiaries work through these estate planning issues. Okay. Also, converting to a Roth IRA. We talked about that, right? If you have it in an IRA, you can convert it to an Roth IRA. Okay. Now, I will say this, a lot of plans are coming more on board with allowing in-plan conversions within a 401k, but not all of them offer that, right? And it's kind of clunky to do. Whereas if you have it in an IRA that you work with an advisor with, it's a lot easier, in my opinion, to make that Roth conversion and understand the dollar amounts that you should do as well, right? So if, like you mentioned earlier, Tony, maybe doing partials. If you have a couple $100,000 in a traditional IRA and we've got $10,000 of taxable income left in your tax bracket before you move up to the next bracket, then we'll take advantage of that and we're just going to convert maybe that 10,000, right? Versus, oh, I'm going to do this. This sounds like a great idea, and I'm going to do 20,000. All of a sudden, you screw everything else up. I mean, you don't want to do that. So controlling it in IRA and converting it to a Roth IRA after you've left is a lot easier to be done. And again, some plans are allowing it in plan conversions, but again, it's a little clunky. Okay.
Yeah.
Another one would be, a big hot topic lately, or not lately, it's always been this way, is investments and using annuities. Okay. Using annuities to offset risk, whether they be fixed annuities, or maybe it's a variable annuity with income riders, or maybe it's a fixed index annuity, whatever's best for you. It doesn't matter. You don't have that option. You don't have those riders. You don't have guarantees of income in your 401k plan. So moving it to an IRA, a lot of people like that idea, Tony. If you ask a lot of people and you said, hey, you can either have this this 401k, and you have to put money in and you control where it's invested and you're responsible for it, or we're going to pay you a pension like they used to. I think a lot of people would pick option B.
Yes. And I know I would. I would rather have a pension paid for by my employer rather than putting it all on me with the 401k.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think a lot of people would answer the same way.
Yeah.
But you can do those kinds of things with these types of annuities.
Sure. It's like creating your own personal pension.
Exactly.
You need to have that mailbox money that you know will be there each month in retirement to cover the bills, so you don't need to worry about it, right?
Right.
As long as you live. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so these things are, again, available if you have it in an IRA. Now, you need to understand all of the aspects of anything that you do, right? So we're going to talk about some things you should look at is the different aspects as saying, okay, well, it sounds like an IRA might be a better option. And I think it is for the most part, but you have to consider things like fees, okay? You have to consider things like surrender charges. There's all kinds of things that you have to consider that if you're going to put it in an IRA, compare these things.
Yeah, and the timing too. How old are you? When do you
Yes,
when do you need the money, right? That's
exactly.
that's something you help people figure out is you got to look at the math and say, okay, should this go into an IRA or Roth IRA? Well, when do you need the money? How old are you?
Exactly.
How long does it need to be in there before you can pull it out tax-free, or before you can start taking out without any penalties? Or, how do we avoid tax issues with this money? So those are all things. You're right. And you've talked about this a lot on past shows. And that's how I know this.
So it's not just income, Tony. It's the risk tolerance, right? So that's why we walk through all of these things and understand if, okay, if you're, a COMRA, which is your color of money risk analysis that we use, and it's a score associated with it. Again, it's a guideline, but if we say, okay, you should be 50-50, 50 risk and 50 risk off, kind of just a very basic conversation for the radio show. But my point is that then, okay, we can customize that plan to not only create the income that you need in retirement, but stay within your risk tolerance.
Right.
That's the key. That's
to make
why
sure
you
only
work.
50% of it's at risk. The rest is
Right.
Protected or principal protected.
But that's why you work with advisors. That's why people like me exist, is to
Right.
understand how you should invest your money, not only from your time horizon, not only from your risk tolerance, but from your income needs in retirement. These things are all work together, and you can formulate a strategy that does all of it. Okay. And so in an IRA, to me, it's easier to do that
Right.
and accomplish those goals. So anyway.
Right. Yeah, but it depends, like you say, on each individual's specific situation. Is a Roth IRA right for everybody? No. Is it right for a lot of people? Probably, but they need to meet with a financial professional who's trusted, who's a fiduciary, who's going to look out for their best interest and their situation and say, hey, here's what best fits your situation for you.
Exactly. And here's an example of that, Tony. So like if you're younger, right, and it's a possibility that you would need to borrow against this money. Okay. You can't do that in an IRA. You can do it in a 401k.
Yeah.
Right. So again, to your point, Tony, everybody's situation's different. And just because an IRA may seem attractive as far as rolling out an old 401k to an IRA versus keeping it there, there's all kinds of circumstances that will make you decide or help you decide truly which direction is best for you.
And you know about all of these circumstances because you're going through this process with people every day, where the rest of us are only going to go through this process typically once, hopefully, through the retirement process or retirement income planning especially. But you have to know the pitfalls to look out for, and you can make really costly mistakes if you try to do it on your own.
So I'm going to wrap up with this and kind of allude to what you were saying there, which is, okay, let's say we decide the IRA is the best thing and we want to roll over to an IRA. There are mistakes that you can make that are very, very costly if you don't do that correctly. Okay. So another reason, again, to work with an advisor to understand not only your options when you leave your job, but which way is the best way to go for you, and then how to do it without costing you money in taxes, without costing you money in penalties, without messing up your entire retirement income plan. That's the reason why you work with an advisor. That's what we're here to do for you at Alspaugh Wealth Management. Give us a call at 573-332-7855 or look us up on the web at alspaughwealthmanagement.com.
All right. Well, Brock, great show today. We covered a lot of ground talking about whether you want to roll over, a conversion, or to stay put. There's a lot to consider. Pick up the phone, give Brock a call, 573-332-7855. Again, 573-332-7855, and set up that no charge, no obligation consultation. Brock, great show today, buddy.
You too, Tony. Take care now.
All right, that does it for today's episode of the Retirement Playbook with our host, Brock Alspaugh.